Israel's refusal to acknowledge Palestinian rights and humanity perpetuated zero-sum narrative where Jewish safety is predicated on Palestinian dehumanization and death. In my June 28 article entitled, "If This is Genocide, What Is?", I explained that while Israel has every right to defend itself and retaliate against Hamas for its savage attack that slaughtered 1,200 innocent Israeli civilians and soldiers, its quest to punish Hamas was quickly transformed into a war of revenge and retribution. Regardless of their innocence, tens of thousands of Palestinian men, women, and children were indiscriminately killed, which, along with destroying or damaging 84% of Gaza's healthcare facilities, quote, inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, end of quote, as the Convention on Genocide indicates, causing serious bodily and mental harm, and more, amounts to genocide by definition. Yet I was condemned by many individuals for daring to label Israel war a genocide, calling the article blood libel. Over the last year and a half, I have spoken with dozens of reserve soldiers who fought in Gaza and came back. It is heart-wrenching to listen to what they have described as eyewitnesses. They confessed that orders are frequently arbitrarily given to shoot first and not ask questions later. This policy led directly to the death of 3 Israeli hostages who were waving white flags and shouting for help in Hebrew when Israeli soldiers killed them. Bombing many buildings full of civilians only to kill a single Hamas operative while killing hundreds of innocent people is tantamount to genocide. Several government ministers have been making statements advocating the intent to destroy the Palestinians in Gaza, in whole or in part. Heritage Minister Amichai Eliyahu advocated for the completely wild idea of dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza, confirming the intent to eliminate everyone there. He also stated that anyone waving a Palestinian flag, quote, shouldn't continue to live on the face of this earth, end of quote. This constitutes incitement, as the message to the soldier is clear: kill, because no Palestinian deserves to live. Yet Eliyahu continues to hold power and implicit approval of his statements. Among the many heinous things that National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Meir has said, one of the most egregious is advocating for the killing women and children in Gaza to prevent another attack like October 7th. Promoting the murder of women and children, without a question, is undoubtedly broadcasting the intent to kill Palestinians without reservation, a clear sign of genocide. Former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, while serving in that position, made countless dehumanizing statements, including calling ordinary Palestinian villains human beasts. This rhetoric of dehumanization echoes the genocide in Rwanda, when leaders repeatedly called Tutsis cockroaches, inciting Hutus to see their countrymen as less than human, actively promoting what became the horrific genocide there. Nissim Baturi, an MK from Netanyahu's Likud party and Deputy Speaker of the Knesset, has called for executing every single man in Gaza, calling them scum and subhuman. He said every child in Gaza is already a terrorist from the moment of his birth. And we know precisely that Israeli politicians prefer that terrorists be put to death. Why quibble about age if such views predetermine their fate. The Israeli police have decided that remarks from Rabbi, no less, Eliyahu Mali, who runs a yeshiva that combines religious studies with military service, training those who may very well end up in Gaza, do not count as incitement. Jewish law, he said, requires the killing of anyone in Gaza, including children and the elderly. Quote, whoever comes to kill you, kill him first. Whoever comes to kill you with this concept does not only include the young man aged 16, 18, 20, or 30, who is now pointing a weapon at you, but also the future generation, the children of Gaza, and those who produce the future generation, women of Gaza, because there is no difference, end of quote. Is there any way to describe these despicable remarks other than incitement to genocide? Yet again, if the implicit approval of his call for a wholesale slaughter of every last living person in Gaza is not call for a genocide, nothing is. How else would the death of more than 58,000 Palestinians, 2/3 of them were women and children, have happened in the absence of these incitements? I could go on and on providing evidence, not just in statements from government officials, but in statements of soldiers executing orders from their superiors. Anyone who reads this and persists in calling it false and a blood libel apparently enjoy the illusion in which a majority of Israelis and many other deniers of Israeli government crimes against humanity bury their heads. The wholesale death and destruction in Gaza is sending shock waves around the world, especially to Israel's friends and allies, who are at a loss to grasp how the Jews in Israel, the children of those who have been the victims of history, have now become the victimizer. Committing such a crime against humanity, which by extension is being done in the name of world Jewry, inflict the greatest damage on Jewish communities everywhere. On many occasions, Netanyahu explicitly stated that he speaks on behalf of the Jewish people. The unprecedented rise of anti-Semitism now, in the frequent attacks on Jews outside Israel, are a direct result of Netanyahu and his criminal gangs act against the Palestinians, and any Jew who denies that willfully naive or feeling shameful for admitting the unthinkable. The tragedy that Israel has precipitated as a result of this continuing brutal occupation and the mass destruction and death in Gaza is the nurturing of another generation of young Palestinians, many of whom will grow up with one mission: to avenge the horror that has befallen their people. They will not rest until they liberate themselves from the bondage and dehumanization to which they've been subjected to. Instead, had Israel ended the ruthless occupation and offered the Palestinian hope for a better and secure future, young Palestinians would not resort to violence and terrorism, but could grow and prosper in peace alongside their Jewish neighbors. Rabbi Mali's call, quote, kill the future generation and those who produce the future generation because there is no difference, is beyond outrageous and is contemptible in every which way imaginable. Killing innocent children on the assumption that they will grow up to be terrorists, which is Israel is deliberately nurturing to justify its ruthless occupation and dehumanization of the Palestinians on security grounds, is the highest of moral decadence for which the Israelis will pay dearly for years to come. Now the Netanyahu government is forcibly displacing the Palestinians in Gaza to the south and building a concentration camp at the city of Rafah. From there, the government is planning to commit a total ethnic cleansing by exiling the Palestinians to a third country. Yes, another Nakba, catastrophe, a la the 1948, is in the making for the Palestinian. The Trump administration in particular will be condemned if it remains silent in the face of this pending catastrophe. As great is the tragedy that Israel has inflicted on itself and the Jews around the world, Israel's image is stained by Palestinian blood, rendering it a pariah state. Beyond that, Israel has become a liability to the diaspora Jewry, on whose behalf Netanyahu claims to speak. And instead of living in peace and dignity, they are now fearful for their lives. The war is still grinding on. The death and destruction continues. And Netanyahu and his criminal gang are still reveling in the illusion of securing total victory. However, even if every single Hamas operative is killed, it will only start a new chapter in the annals of the tragic Israeli-Palestinian conflict that will not end until the Palestinians win their freedom. Instead of defending the indefensible, every Jew with any integrity has a solemn responsibility to make their voice heard and call for the end of this horrible war and support the Palestinian right to a state of their own. History will condemn Netanyahu and his government for making Jewish safety and survival predicated on the Palestinian dehumanization and death.